Hey, what's up, and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here in video format. We're just going to jump straight into the questions. And this first question is going to be from Ashton, who says, with the trade deadline approaching, do you think the Browns will make any moves? If so, for what? There's a chance they make a move for a borderline starting level defensive tackle. Outside of that, I don't really see the Browns making any moves, and I don't see the need for them to make that many moves. We have seen that the Browns' issue is not the talent on the roster. I think they have some holes in certain positions for sure. But they've had those holes at those positions for like the last 3 years. They've been able to play functional defense with those same holes, is my point. So, yeah, we can trade for guys, and that'll make us feel better for a couple of days. But the main problems with the Browns' defense are structural, institutional, foundational. Has to be fixed from the inside out before we could try to fix it from the outside in. I think it makes us feel better to get guys in pieces from the outside in to solve this problem. But the truth is that this is an internal problem with this defense. That, sure, you can do some things to mitigate by adding some pieces for sure, but you're not going to fix the whole problem until you diagnose and fix the problem inside. And that's the problem with the Browns. You got Myles Garrett on this team. You got Jadeveon Clowney on this team. You got Greg Newsome on this team. You got Denzel Ward on this team. You're supposed to have John Johnson on this team. You have J.O.K. You should not, I don't care how bad those interior defensive linemen are. I really don't. You should not be this bad. It's not, the talent on the roster has no excuse to be this bad. It's them. It's internal. And we could talk about, well, maybe we overestimated their talent. We didn't overestimate anything because we didn't come to these conclusions based off potential with these players. We came to these conclusions based off of what they did in the NFL. They can do it. We've literally seen them do it. But what's inside the building that's preventing it from happening, right? And I think it's bigger than just Joe Woods, even though he's probably part of this problem. I think it's a lack of focus. I think it's a lack of understanding, like Joe Batonio said, of what it takes to be great in this league. You know, a lot of guys had good rookie years, thought they could come back their sophomore year, and they knew it all. They don't know what they don't know yet. There's a book called The Dip, right? And I'm going to equate this to weightlifting because that's the most, I think, applicable to the most common people, like to everybody, on how this kind of works for this locker room and why I think they're in this slump with especially some of these young players is, in that book, The Dip, he describes that progress is not linear, right? We want it to be linear, but it's not linear. We want progress to look like this. But in reality, progress looks like this. There's a dip. Why is there a dip, right? Because when you first do something, let's say working out, right? When you first start working out, it's easy to get gains, right? You up there, you motivated, you go up there, you try 15 pounds, you get it up better than you thought it would. Okay, now I'm going to go to 25. I'm getting 25 up. I'm getting 25 up. Next day you go 30, 35. It's been a month. You went from 15 to 50. You feeling good about your progress, right? Bench press, same way, right? First day, maybe you just getting the bar. Okay, bar was pretty easy, though. That was pretty cake. I didn't even really feel anything. Okay, let me put 2 plates on it. You know, now I'm at 135. Oh, yeah, real easy. Cake. All right, man. 185. Okay, a little tough. But next week, you get 190. You know what I mean? You keep going up by 5, and you think this is easy, right? You just keep getting better and getting better and getting better, and the progress is rapid at the beginning. But then eventually, you hit the point, right? And all of a sudden, instead of every time you come back, you hit new PRs and going up by 5 pounds at every exercise, now you're struggling. You're plateauing. All of a sudden, that 275 that you was putting up in the bench press is harder to replicate. It's harder to get to 275, and you're struggling to hit that next level, and this deflates you. This is where the Browns defense is, right? Last year, we had a lot of young guys come in, get some playing time, and boy, they had them gains, right? They stunk at the beginning of the season, but by the end of the season, they were pushing all that weight that they wanted to push, right? So they came into this offseason thinking it was going to be just like that. But then when the weight got heavier, they started to realize it wasn't like that at all. They had realized at this point that they did not know how hard it actually was. We don't for me, I didn't really have an appreciation of how hard it is to get to 315 on a bench press until I attempted to do it, and my body broke down on the way to do it, right? You start to realize these are very difficult things to achieve because it takes a lot of discipline, and what you know at the start is not necessarily enough to get you to the finish line. That's what happened. That's what I think is happening with the young players on this defense. They don't know what they don't know. They thought they knew enough. I bet if you ask them individually about if they're working hard, they would say, yeah, and I think they believe it. But there's been times where I thought I was working hard. I didn't understand all that I needed to do, right? And some people tried to tell me that, but it's not something you're going to be super receptive to when you feel like you have a process that's been successful. That's where this team's at. That's really what I think the problem is. They're in the dip. It's a great book. Check it out. A good friend suggested that book to me one time. But yeah, that's where they're at. They're in the dip. They're in the dip, man. Izana with the next question says, hey, Q, big fan of your channel. Even though I'm a Raven fan, respect. What are your playoff predictions for the North? Which teams do you see making the playoff run? I think I would say the Bengals are most likely to win the division because they're the team with the less volatile issues. The Ravens and the Browns have volatile issues, but I do think, I'll say this. I think the Bengals are the closest lock to make the playoffs. I think either the Browns or the Ravens will win this division or be in last place. One of those two teams will probably win this division or be in last place. The next question comes from the Brown Tiger. Says, hey, Q, love the show, but do you think Deion Jones starts this game? And if so, do you think he makes an impact? I don't think he starts, but I do think that he probably gets some playing time. How much of an impact will it be? Well, he's just being asked to be the adult in the room. He could have a massive impact because of that. LJ Fort, 2019 for the Ravens was a big impact just by being the adult in the room. We'll see. I don't have super high expectations of him right now just because it's not like that's where he's at this point of his career. If he does, hey, great. Next question comes from, it's on screen, who says, with how poorly this defense been playing, is Lamar Jackson over or under for 100 yards this Sunday rushing? Probably over. The next question comes from Diddy, who says, serious question, what's up with Denzel Ward? He went from arguably the warden to being an inmate. Nice play on words there, Diddy. I don't know, man. Usually, I'm not tripping about Denzel Ward when he comes out start the season slow because he always does that. But this is a bit extended, right? And I don't want to be cynical and just blame it on the money. I feel like a lot of people are going to go there, oh, he got paid, he stopped playing hard. But something confidence-wise hasn't been there. You could tell it affected him in that Carolina game when he got blamed for that busted coverage, and the same thing for the Jets game. So maybe something ain't been right. I know he had a broken bone in his foot in the offseason, and maybe he's not fully recovered from that. But, yeah, he's just been off this year. He's just been off. The next question comes from Steve, who says, hey, Q, do you think Miles would get more sacks if he wasn't lined up far over on every play? I know it's not his choice, but maybe moving him around Running in that hard package might work more. Yeah, I mean, like the defense can't be oriented around getting Myles Garrett sacks, though, right? Like that's not going to be what's best for the defense. You should move them around a little bit, and they have moved them around the last few weeks. They probably shouldn't. I understand why they line him up so wide is to avoid being chipped on a double team, but I think it's counterproductive because he's so wide at times that he doesn't have time to get there. And the ideal is that, hey, Myles is a freak athlete. You put him out wide, he's going to get there. He's not that freaky. Like he's not like Houdini. But yeah, I think there is some merit in getting Myles in more situations to where he can just play and get to the ball. But that's it for this week's Q&A. You guys have a great day. Have a good night.